a boxer, grappler, or any mixed martial artist for that matter, you need to have robust wrist strength. Wrist injuries are one of the most common injuries among all MMA athletes. In this video, you're going to learn the exact frameworks that I use to help athletes strengthen their wrists so that they can tolerate the high impacts of landing and punching, the things all fighters need to be able to do. If you're new to this channel, hi and welcome. My name is Jack Crucial, and here I share my specific tips to help MMA athletes not only get back to elite performance, but stay at the top. If you want to learn about elite training approaches that you will not find anywhere else on the internet, then you need to like and subscribe to this channel. The truth is, the methods you find on blogs and Google are laughably basic, and these cookie cutter approaches won't work for you. You see people flapping their hand around and tell you that this is going to help build the same strength needed to rip hooks into a heavy bag when you're boxing. Wrist strength training is a must for athletes. All of the best fighters in the world are using these training methods in order to minimize injury and improve performance. The stronger your wrists, the better your punching power, as you can transfer that force into the object or into your opponent. Stay with me to the end, as we will be covering 3 of the most important tips when it comes to overall development of wrist strength. The wrist anatomy. First, let's quickly go over the basic wrist anatomy. The wrist is made up of small bones connected together to create a mobile joint which can rotate in many different directions. Since it's a multi-directional joint, this means that we need to train it in these planes, and this is exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. If you have 15 minutes to take your training to the next level, then I suggest checking out my free 6 months of injury reduction circuits. There are over 27 circuits that I've created for you. My mission is to keep as many of you in the ring and on the mats as possible and allow you to stay in your best fighting shape. And this is why I'm giving this away for free. So make sure you go and check that out. So tip number 1 is to load, flex, and extend through the wrists. Now, if you're at the very early stages of a wrist injury, you may need your light 1 kilo dumbbells. I will tell you though that most people I see are chronically underloading their wrists, meaning they're not lifting heavy enough to actually stress the wrists and make adequate adaptations. They typically make this mistake simply because they don't know what exercise to do and how to set themselves up so that they can truly strengthen the wrists. My favorite exercise to help you avoid this mistake is one that not only trains this movement, but also lights up your forearms and flushes them with blood. I'm talking about the barbell wrist roller. You can easily set this up. Use a thick resistance band, a barbell, and a kettlebell. Start rotating your wrists to bring the kettlebell up through the full range and lower it slowly. This has a powerful twofold effect. Not only are you working the wrist through flexion and extension, but you are also building control through the wrists and forearms when the kettlebell is descending. Tip number 2 is twisting the wrist, which is supination and pronation. Much like flexion and extension, many people struggle to find a wrist exercise that isn't just rotating a dumbbell. This twisting mechanism that I'm sharing here is extremely crucial, since it helps you turn the wrist over at the end of your punch and cut your opponent. So not only are you minimizing injury risk by doing these exercises, but you're also adding more snap to your punches, which is going to help your striking performance. I personally don't like prescribing, unless it's in the very, very early stages of an injury, basic wrist turning exercises either with your body weight or a light dumbbell. You can find all of that stuff on Google. We're here to take you to the elite level. What I would advise you to use is something like a kettlebell turnover. Gennady Golovkin has famously showed us his vice grip strength, and he uses the kettlebell turnovers a ton in his fight camps. So do what the elite are doing. This exercise is a super simple setup. Simply place the kettlebell on a bench and assume an underhand grip on the kettlebell. Then turn your wrist over. In this position, you're developing stronger wrist rotation, and kettlebells allow you to load up far heavier than a dumbbell. Just one simple change can make a world of a difference. Tip number 3 is using upper body plyometrics to build elite wrist strength and allow you to tolerate more impact. This is an approach that I do not see in any commercial gyms, or even fighting gyms for that matter. I've trained at many different gyms and nobody integrates these things. As a mixed martial artist, you need to be able to absorb force and impact through your wrists. If you're a grappler, you brace for impact when you fall. As a striker, you'd better make sure that you have sufficient robustness to not get injured when you make contact with a heavy bag or your opponent. To be able to handle the load demands of your sport, I highly suggest integrating some form of upper body plyometrics. This is the same way that you would train jumps for your lower body, and you can develop insane plyometric abilities. I've seen people do things such as landing off of 6-foot platforms into a push-up position. This is how strong you can build your wrists up to. Obviously, you're not going to go straight into these parameters, but it just shows how much resiliency you can actually build in the wrists. Remember, your wrists don't need to be fragile if you train them in an elite manner. Now follow me, I'm going to demonstrate one beginner example and one advanced example that you can easily integrate into your training. The first are bench plyo push-ups. For beginners, start your plyometrics on a soft bench and use a raised surface instead of the ground. This makes the load demands through your wrists far more manageable if you are just starting out. You can even start by springing off a bench at a lower height, then work your way up to higher push-up lift-offs as you build more robustness in this position. A way to take this to the extreme is by completing depth drops from a height. You can even rebound off a height that you choose back into a push-up position. The biggest benefit of doing this more advanced variation is not only are you absorbing loads and impacts, you are also working the elasticity through your tendons to be able to rebound back up into that push-up position. And as a bonus, you're also working your shoulder stability when you're reaching this top position as well. Stuff is no different to jumping for the upper body, and it is an elite strategy to really build advanced level wrist strength and global upper body power. So there you go, we've shared 3 of the most important strategies so that you can not only build stronger, more robust wrists, but also minimize one of the most common injuries in combat sports. So to recap, these are: number 1, loaded flexion and extension through the wrists. Number 2, loaded supination and pronation, otherwise known as twisting. And number 3, upper body plyometrics, so jumps for the upper body. Add these training methods into your repertoire now, and I promise it will take your strength and conditioning to the next level. For a whole body approach to reducing injury, I suggest you check out the Crucial Combat Circuits, and I've shared the link in the description. I've created 27 injury reduction circuits. It takes around 10 to 15 minutes to complete. So yes, that's over half a year of injury reduction circuits that you have access to now. It covers the most commonly injured areas in the body for combat athletes. So the neck, the wrists and hands, and the lower leg. If you've enjoyed this video and you've learned something new, comment below as to which tip you're going to try first. See you in the next video. Cheers.